Calliope had always believed in angels and monsters. It was the foundation of her world, a truth etched into her soul by generations of hunters. Her family had trained her to see everything in stark black and white, light versus dark, good versus evil. There were no shades of gray. But that was before she met Juliette. The first time their paths crossed, it felt like a scene torn from a forbidden book. Juliette stood under the halo of a flickering streetlight, the city rain streaking down the shoulders of her leather jacket. Her red lips were curved in a smile that was both a warning and an invitation. There was something untamed in her eyes, a wildness that pulled Calliope closer, even as every instinct, every lesson she'd ever learned, screamed for her to run in the opposite direction. Juliette's voice, low and teasing, cut through the sound of the downpour. Looking for trouble? Calliope's heart hammered against her ribs. She tried to steady her breath, to find the hardened voice of the hunter she was meant to be, but all that came out was a whisper, unable to hide the tremble that ran through her. Maybe, that single word, that one fleeting moment of defiance, marked the beginning of something neither of them could control, something neither of them could stop. It was the collision of two worlds, Calliope, the righteous monster hunter, and Juliette, the very vampire she was born and bred to destroy. But then, Juliette laughed. It wasn't a monstrous sound. It was soft, melodic, and it echoed in the silence of Calliope's heavily guarded heart, cracking the foundations of everything she thought she knew. In that instant, Calliope realized the world wasn't so simple. Juliette wasn't just the darkness she'd been taught to fear. She was warmth. She was intoxicating temptation. She was everything forbidden and everything she never knew she craved. Their meetings evolved into secret rituals, sacred moments stolen from the world that condemned them. They found solace under the crimson glow of the blood moon, in abandoned alleyways where shadows danced and hid their faces, behind a veil of constant, thrilling danger. Each touch was electric, a spark that felt like divine punishment and absolute bliss all at once. When Juliette's hand would brush against Calliope's, it sent a shockwave through her system, a reminder of the line she was crossing. One night, with the scent of rain still hanging in the air, Juliette murmured, her voice a soft caress against the darkness, "Do you ever think that love might be the real sin?" Calliope met her gaze, the intensity in Juliette's eyes holding her captive. The words of her family, the creed of her lineage, they all faded into a distant hum. "If it is," Calliope confessed, her voice barely audible, "then I'm already damned." A soft sigh escaped Juliette's parted lips, a sound of relief, of surrender, of shared confession. And before Calliope could second-guess herself, before her training could kick in and pull her away, their lips met. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was wild, defiant, and desperate. It was the culmination of every stolen glance, every forbidden thought. Juliette's mouth tasted of midnight and rebellion, of every rule Calliope had ever dreamed of breaking. For a single, breathless heartbeat, the world disappeared. There were no hunters, no ancient bloodlines, no curses hanging over their heads. There were just two souls, caught in the beautiful, chaotic space between heaven and hell, clinging to each other in the eye of their own private storm. When they finally pulled apart, Calliope's breath came in ragged, shallow bursts. Her world had been tilted on its axis. "You're the devil," she whispered, the accusation laced with awe. Juliette smiled, a genuine, heart-stopping smile that reached her eyes. She gently brushed a strand of damp hair from Calliope's face, her touch lingering. "Maybe," she conceded softly, "but you were the only one who ever looked at me like I could be saved." Calliope wanted to deny it. A part of her, the hunter, screamed to retreat, to remember her duty, to remind herself of who she was supposed to be. But looking into Juliette's eyes, she saw something purer than any faith she had ever known. She saw a love that burned far too bright to ever be considered evil. Days blurred into nights filled with these stolen moments. A clandestine touch beneath a canopy of stars. A whispered secret in the quiet dark. Every encounter was a gamble, a dance with destruction. Discovery didn't just mean heartbreak. It meant annihilation for them both, but the pull was too strong. Neither of them could stop. One evening, as a thick mist rolled in from the river, blurring the city lights into a watercolor painting, Calliope found the courage to ask the question that haunted her. "If I told you I could never see you again," she began, her voice thick with unshed tears, "what would you do?" Juliette's usually sharp gaze softened with a profound sadness, but also with an unwavering certainty. "I'd let you go," she said, her voice steady, "because I love you enough to do that, but I'd never stop loving you." Tears finally welled in Calliope's eyes and spilled down her cheeks. She had spent her entire life hunting monsters, trained to see evil in the shadows. But now, in the light of Juliette's love, she realized the truth. The real monsters were not the creatures of the night. The real monsters were those who had taught her to believe that a love like this was wrong. And so, as the first hints of dawn threatened to break on the horizon, Calliope made a choice. She would not run. She would not hide. She turned to face Juliette, her heart pounding a powerful, resolute rhythm against her ribs. "Then I'll stay," she declared, her voice ringing with newfound conviction. "Even if it burns me." Juliette stepped closer, her expression a mixture of disbelief and adoration. Her fingers grazed Calliope's cheek, a touch as gentle as a prayer. "Love always burns," she whispered. Their lips met again. This time, it was slower, deeper, full of a quiet and total surrender. It was a kiss of truth, of chaos, of a faith being reborn not in the light, but in the beautiful, accepting shadows. When they finally parted, Juliette's eyes shimmered like dying embers, full of a fire that Calliope now shared. "You still think I'm the devil?" Juliette asked, a faint, playful curve to her lips. Calliope smiled, a true, liberating smile. "If you are," she replied, her voice steady and sure, "then maybe I've been praying to the wrong god all this time." They stood together as the stars began to fade, two defiant souls choosing their own destiny, choosing love in a world that was determined to tear them apart. Maybe they were doomed, maybe they were blessed, but in that perfect, suspended moment, wrapped in each other's arms, they didn't care, because they had discovered the ultimate truth. Sometimes, love isn't about choosing heaven or hell. It's about finding the fire that keeps you alive in the beautiful, vibrant space in between. Thank you so much for watching this story unfold. If you enjoyed Calliope and Juliette's journey, please give this video a like and consider subscribing to our channel for more stories that challenge the heart. We'll see you next time.